one believed in you more than I did.
Stop filming me!
Hello and welcome to Arts 24's film show. This week we're looking at one of the most hyped films of the moment, the second part of the epic musical Wicked, based on the hit stage show Wicked for Good, stars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo as Glinda the Good and the Wicked Witch of the West in the Wizard of Oz prequel. I'm joined now by our film critic Emma Jones, who's going to tell us if we'll be spellbound with Jon M's new film. Is it worth the hype?
Well, of course it is. And if you have seen the first one, then I think it's a pretty safe bet. You're going to want to see the follow-up to it. Even if, frankly, Wicked for Good doesn't have quite the musical hits that the first film did. Songs like Defying Gravity and Popular. Although fans will be interested to know that there are 2 new original songs in this film. So where are we story-wise as we come up to this sequel? Well, Oz is under the repression of Madame Morrible, played by Michelle Yeoh, and quite topically, I feel animals are persecuted because they're different. Elphaba, played of course by Cynthia Erivo, is misrepresented as a wicked witch, and Glinda, pitch perfect in pink by Ariana Grande, is hailed as Glinda the Good. She's given her own magic pink bubble to travel around in and handed a pink wand. Unfortunately, she can't use it. So how are both characters going to be redeemed out of this situation?
OK, well, how indeed. Let's take a look now at the film and hear from director Jon M on why Wicked is designed as a 2-film experience.
This is between us, the wizard, and I.
The Wicked Witch can't elude us forever. Not with Prince Fiyero and his squadron hot on her trail.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz. No one believed in you more than I did.
Elphaba. They're coming for you.
This is always part of a 1-year, 2-movie experience. So from the very beginning, the first movie was supposed to show the fairy tale, and the second movie was the shattered fairy tale. And what are the pieces you're going to pick up for this future? And what are fairy tales? Can you still have the same optimism and positivity, even though it's messy right now? And I think that Glinda and Elphaba take us through that journey.
Well, there's been pink and green absolutely everywhere during the Wicked for Good global promo tour. You can't scroll for 2 seconds without seeing it. But the Asian premiere in Singapore made headlines for a different reason. A fan actually jumped a barrier trying to grab Ariana Grande, and Cynthia Erivo was right beside her and helped keep things calm. And the man, an Australian visitor, ended up with a 9-day jail sentence for causing a public nuisance. And the images from this press tour are all over the internet right now, aren't they?
They really are, and they didn't even need a press tour, I don't think, in all, because there's so much brand recognition for this film internationally. At the moment, Wicked for Good is on course to make 125 million in the USA alone in one weekend. Possibly more. So I feel this film is a success before it's even out.
OK, well, could it beat the 10 Oscar nominations the first one received, though, do you think?
You know, it should at least equal them. Of course, it got some awards last time, but it feels like they were saving it up for, the second movie. But I actually have a question. Both actresses are fantastic. But to me, this does feel more like Ariana Grande's movie. For those of you who've seen the musical, you may know that in this part, Elphaba continues her love affair with Prince Fiyero, who's played by Jonathan Bailey. And the story really much shifts to from Glinda's perspective. So I was just wondering if really they should both be entered as lead actresses this award season. I doubt that will happen.
Because then they'd be against each other, wouldn't they?
Exactly. But, taken as a whole, I feel that this is a rainbow-coloured fairy tale and it's a real antidote to grim reality, possibly in the world right now. Maybe even one day it might be as classic as The Wizard of Oz itself.
OK, well, we'll see. That'll be interesting. Well, next then, to something very different, a dystopian story written in 1982 by by the author Stephen King called The Running Man. This was first made into a film in 1987 starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's been adapted again, this time more faithfully to the book by British director Edgar Wright. It stars Coleman Domingo, Michael Cera, Josh Brolin and Hitman's Glenn Powell. Let's take a look.
People on these games never come back.
I'm not trying to get myself killed, so kiss my ass twice.
Right there is why you can win this game. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days with the entire nation hunting you down. And get your family out of Slumside for good.
I'm gonna come back here and burn this building down. I promise.
That's the spirit.
So very action-packed, Emma. Glenn Powell is actually being hailed by some as the new Tom Cruise, isn't he?
He is, although despite his greatness in Hitman, and also he managed to make last year's Twisters a highly watchable experience, I don't think so. I think Tom Cruise is a once-in-a-century phenomenon. And did you notice he finally got an honorary Oscar, his first at the weekend, I think, to this film, though. And I really love Edgar Wright as a director. If you think of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World's End, these are British classics. So I was very interested to see what he'd do with American dystopian fare and a budget of more than $100 million. And Glenn Powell is perfect as the rugged hero Ben. Now, he's trying to get his daughter healthcare in an America which is being captured by one big corporation that controls society. To do so, he will appear on the ultra reality show The Running Man, in which if he can survive for 30 days without being murdered by the show's assassins, he will win $1 billion. But does anyone actually win at this game, though?
OK, well, let's hear from Edgar Wright on adapting a Stephen King novel, followed by Glenn Powell on why he wanted to star in it.
Stephen, had to sign off on the screenplay and really loved it and loved what we kept and loved what we changed. And, that's a fantastic for me because I'm such a fan of his. But then also it creates a new pressure because now I have to live up to that.
I think the thing that gets me the most fueled up is imagining your family in peril. Anyone that knows me, I think the quickest emotional trigger for me is if somebody messes with my family. So that's very much the emotional kernel of this entire movie is his daughter's, in danger. She may not make it.
Interestingly, the original story was written in 1982, but it's actually set this year in 2025. Does it feel highly topical?
Yes, there are real Hunger Games parallels here in these films. And in fact, Coleman Domingo plays the creepiest TV host I've seen since Stanley Tucci's Caesar Flickerman from the Hunger Games. This film does feel very timely in answer to your question. Ben is unemployed because he stood up to his corporate employers, while Americans are kept distracted by a series of bloodlust game shows and also Kardashian-style reality shows. The network also generates AI reality, uses AI reality to portray Ben as a villain. But it feels more cartoonish than menacing, to be honest with you. There are cinematic homages all the way through this film that you can spot, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's face is on the new dollar bills, which I did think was a nice touch. The real downside of The Running Man for me, though, was its ending. It feels unclear, and that means for me, The Running Man does run out of puff by the end.
It's perhaps not the sort of escapism we're looking for right now.
Not quite not.
Next, then, to Scarlett Johansson's big leap behind the camera with her directing debut, Eleanor the Great, known for her roles, of course, in Lost in Translation and as Black Widow in the Marvel films. Johansson is now trying her hand at directing. Now, the film premiered at this year's Cannes Film Festival and stars 96-year-old June Squibb. It follows an intergenerational friendship, one that begins with a rather bold lie Eleanor tells. So what does Johansson's first turn as director look like? Let's take a look.
Hi. I'm Eleanor.
I was wondering if I could feature you in my article. I did pick a subject for my journalism project.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm actually profiling a Holocaust survivor.
So tell me about your mother.
He never talks about my mom. It's like she just, poof, went away. You liked my article that much?
I loved it. It's thoughtful, it's personal, it's moving. You know, I'd like to have dinner with the two of you. To Eleanor.
So this film actually premiered at Cannes, and it wasn't the only directing debut by an actor there, was it?
No, indeed. In the Uncertain Regard competition, you also had Harris Dickinson's Urchin, which I feel was a more accomplished debut. That's not to say this film doesn't have a certain quirky charm. What is standout is June Squibb's performance playing the loudmouth, bossy Eleanor. And June is quite a late achiever, so she was Oscar nominated for her role in 2014's Nebraska when she was in her 80s. And last year she was up for an Independent Spirit Award for playing a youngster, 93-year-old, in Thelma. So she is now believed to be the oldest lead actress ever in a Hollywood feature film.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and so much of Eleanor the Great is well-intentioned. I really like the intergenerational friendship between Eleanor and this aspiring young journalist, Nina, who's played by Erin Kellyman. What I think that this script, where the script goes wrong tonally, is that the big lie that Eleanor tells is about that she was a Holocaust survivor. And that feels like a very big lie indeed, you know, and a hard thing to get right in a movie of this kind of quirkiness.
OK, well, it sounds interesting. Finally, though, to a retrospective of classic films from the legendary director Francis Ford Coppola, which are enjoying a re-release here in France in French cinemas. Tell us some more.
Yes. The final cut of 1979's Apocalypse Now is, of course, going to be the big draw of this retrospective. But there's also lesser-known films from the back catalogue. Now, these include 2011's horror Twixt, 1988's Tucker, that was with Jeff Bridges, and an Oscar-nominated performance by the late Martin Landau. Now, you can also see 1983's The Outsiders, young Matt Dillon in there, and brilliant 1974's The Conversation with Gene Hackman, young Harrison Ford also, and the B movie, Dementia 13 from 1963, his first feature film.
So, wow, a packed retrospective there. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's film show. Thank you so much for joining us, Emma. We're going to leave you with a restored version of Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Very obviously, he has gone insane.
This is the end, my own.